catch you with these arms that hold me back against this wall. Release me from these chains that hold me fast. You see, there's a light at the end that I'm running to. If you hold my hand, then I'll show you there's a lot more waiting for us.
When I was growing up in Colorado, we were not so PC as we are now. And I don't mean Mac versus PC. I mean political correctness PC. We would have our annual Thanksgiving feast at our elementary school in Littleton, Colorado, and some of us got to be pilgrims, and we would make out of the white butcher paper and black construction paper our costumes, and some of us got to be Native Americans, and we would take construction paper bands and make feathers. We made placemats. We had to eat cranberries. Yeah, it wasn't so good. You know, we just kind of pushed it around on the plate. And these placemats got to go home with us, and it had a blessing of thanks. And we talked about the unity of the day, the feast around which two very different types of people set aside their differences to eat together after a very long and very troubling start. I really liked the Thanksgiving feast. And I didn't care what role I got to play, whether it was the pilgrim or the Indian. It didn't really matter. I was just excited to be there. I look back on that moment, though, as kind of bittersweet. Now that I'm whatever age I am, don't respond. I didn't know to call them Native Americans. I'd play with my brother David in the backyard, and we would play cowboys and Indians. I was always the Indian. I always got shot at. They were Indians, and the pilgrims were looking for religious freedom and a new life, not colonialists that were imparting their will of the Anglo on a new world. It's bittersweet for me because I guess maybe today and in that day, for me, it was always about the table. Coming together around a feast, a meal with people who are very different. I guess I should have known way back even then when I was 8 or 9 that table would hold a really important part for my ministry and my life. The week that's coming ahead for us is called Thanksgiving. We all know that. We're madly, if you're like I was in Target, already not saying nice words to people in Target because they don't understand how to shop and have situational awareness about other people that might be in the store. Some of us are trolling around on Facebook, and our friends have had this kind of devotion going on where every day of Thanksgiving they put Thanksgiving blessing day 1, and they write whatever blessing or thanks they are. I hope you're not doing that. I hope I just didn't I'm sorry. For some of you, it means watching the Macy's Day Thanksgiving parade, right? Where Santa is still the last thing. Yes. For others, it might mean fighting the masses of travelers on the road or in the air. I know several people that are normally here already went out to do their thing for Thanksgiving, so they didn't have to travel on the busiest day of the year. For some of us, it might mean that we need to start shopping because we just don't have that many more days until we give presents, and we're already worried about how we're doing that. But for me and my family, many of you know, we will join 100,000 other people in the glory that is the Cowboys versus Redskins game at Cowboys Stadium. We will be there at, I was told today, 7:45 in the morning. Now, the lots don't open until 10, but we need to be in line because we're going to have so many people in 5 spots, and we need to make sure that we're together and that we're on not the hilly part, but the flat part, and my brother's very manic about that. We literally cook our meal in the parking lot. We're frying turkeys, and there's a brisket, and I'm stuffing doves with brie and cranberries, and we literally have our feast dressed up in cowboy regalia, joining in the throng of blue and white stars and pom-poms. Now imagine with me for just a moment, if in the middle of whatever your celebration is on Thanksgiving, whether it be a meal or some kind of tradition, you're gathering, the whateverness that might be Thanksgiving Day for you, a giant horn is sounded on top of, I don't know, maybe a high mountain. And it doesn't matter where the mountain is because for some reason, all the people of the world can hear it. And then they respond. They literally drop everything that they're doing, whatever it might be in that moment, and respond. Not just us Americans doodly watching football, overeating. I mean the entire world's population responds. Suddenly, the sounds of the world joining together for blessing and joy and thanksgiving in the midst of worship. All that follow God, all that have eyes to see, all that have ears to hear, they respond in that one moment. They hear and respond. And I'm kind of hoping that happens so at least I don't have to watch RG3 pound Romo's stats into the dirt. I'm waiting for that sound. Would you follow that sound? Would you leave everything that you knew behind? Could you do that? Would you want to? I mean, really? Would you really want to? Now remember, it's a gathering of all of the peoples of the world. It's bold, really, if you think about it. Even within our world of gated homes and militarized zones and homeless hangouts and Republicans versus Democrats and the boxing ring, all people that follow the way of God would hear and respond. This is Isaiah's vision that we are contending with this evening. An international gathering of prayer that ushers in God's deliverance. And our prophet Isaiah, he opens our eyes to the most unlikely of sorts. It's the outsiders that start the journey when they hear the sound. It's very bittersweet for me. All the hours that I spend, I write this stuff that we say. That the hours that I spend in worship, the hours that you spend building homes for people, the hours that you spend trying to live your life in a good way. And Isaiah tells us the outsiders respond first. It's the classic case of the path that we want to follow and the path that we are compelled to follow and what we do in the middle of all of that. And so like God just says, y'all come. Isaiah's vision is so radical when you consider the allness of it. Among those gathered were enemies. Let's face it. This is a politically charged atmosphere unlike anything that we do on Thanksgiving. This certainly is not the opening of the Lion King birth scene where the lions and the gazelles and the zebras, they all join together and they bow down because Simba is born. That is not the kind of gathering that we're talking about where they lay aside the fact that they want to eat each other. That is not what we're talking about here. This isn't the scene that we try to forge in our memories of pilgrims and Native Americans sharing a feast. And it certainly isn't the Cowboys and the Redskin fans sharing a tailgate, which will never happen. This is about all of the foreign nations. This is about Iraq and Iran and Sudan. This is about the non-documented workers and the refugees and the countless others crossing a boundary to move towards a house of prayer. Those that have been targeted are next to those that have ordered the targeting. When the institutions and people in power withhold membership, the pilgrimage of the outsiders requires courage and strength and character and perseverance, all for God. And I guess I don't want it to be bittersweet. God overcomes outcastness in whatever form it takes. That is the way of our God. And for me, Isaiah's vision is just bittersweet, like that Thanksgiving feast in elementary school. We say that we want to move as one in the world. We say here in this place that we follow the way of Jesus, which is a way of love and mercy and hope and justice in the world. And yet our decisions and our choices as the called people of God keep us from living into that unity that we say we profess. I just wonder how hard it is, really, to shut up and just eat with one another. Is it really so hard? To throw a party for the world. Don't we want to do that? Maybe I'm just a little too optimistic about what we can be. Maybe I'm just tired of bittersweet memories where people want a different reality than what they have, and they'd rather just moan and complain as our song does and just check out of the world because that's the easier choice. Maybe it's because I'm part of a Jesus follower crowd that made room for the outsider and then sat with them to eat. It's back to that table thing again. Over and over and over. The song that the band played for us tonight talks of all of the regulations that we put on ourselves and our world. And Richard Ashcroft of the Verve, who penned this song, when they play it in concert, he wants people to understand why the song was written. And he says something that life is certainly like a symphony, but it is so bittersweet because people are governed only by money and rules. And we try, don't we, vainly, to be all things to all people, kind of trying on different faiths as they come our way, as if we are trying on clothes. Yes, we'll believe this today because that's what I need to do. But then we encounter someone else who doesn't believe like that, and we don't want to really alienate them. And so we say what we think that they want them to know, and we're not really sure what we believe. And we just keep moving along, and it's no wonder that we just feel like we are just constantly moving and have no anchor whatsoever. It is a bittersweet reality we have put on for ourselves, changing our ideals to suit whatever is popular on Facebook that day. We want to belong. We do. But still we make rules to keep people out. It's a conundrum of the first order. I often speak of you as postmodern pilgrims on this journey together to seek the sacred in whatever form we find it. And I have to think that in our postmodern world, we scream for inclusivity. We want to matter. We want our story to be heard. We want to maintain justice and to do the right thing and to be about love in the world. And that is where this text from Isaiah steps in and speaks to us. Because it opens with that reminder that God is calling us together to bring about salvation and justice and deliverance, but not just to each other. And not just for each other. For the outsiders that God is bringing alongside us will be bringing it too, and we will be changed. God has created a community of faith. God has promised to us that we will sit joyfully at a feast in a house of prayer with all who follow the ways of God. It's that table thing again. To be honest, there's something about this song and that phrase about damaged goods that Sharon read from the Message paraphrase of the scripture this evening that has stuck with me this week. I have felt like damaged goods all week long. I think at times, if we're honest with each other, we all contend with that, don't we? We vainly try to pursue our life to a meaningless ending, and we think that no one notices or cares. Because along the way, we get bumped, and we get bruised, and we get battered. We play a game with our minds. You know that game? How to fix it, but we don't really want to get to what the cause of it is. Because the real truth is that we feel damaged, and thus then we don't fit in, and so we continue to not fit in because we think we're damaged, because we think we can fix it, because we don't want to find the cause of it. It's a really sick cycle that we're a part of. We yearn to be one, but we don't want to try to make it so. We crave the unity that we say we profess, and this is when I tell you that the song Bittersweet Symphony is ultimately a truly depressing song for me. I don't like this song. I don't like its carnival-like tune. I don't like what it's trying to say. I don't like the reality that it brings to me and what I'm having to deal with in my own life. I guess deep down, I believe that we are a symphony of the greatest sound, and we are not bittersweet at all. That we are able to change. That death is not the answer to everything. And if we got on the same page, then I believe that we would hear that sound calling us back to the house of God. That glorious cacophony that is imagined by Isaiah, and we would run. And we wouldn't stumble. We would help others along the way, for we would set aside all of our bitterness, all of our outsiderness, all our us, and all our themness. It wouldn't matter anymore. Jesus made a ministry of reaching out to the damaged goods of society, to turn things upside down and inside out, and then gather them at a scandalous meal of one kind or another. He was always eating, Jesus. He told stories that brought people together and made them realize the oneness of the vision that he was casting for the realm of God. You might remember this encounter from the Gospel of Matthew. In chapter 13, we pick up these words. The disciples came and asked, Jesus, why do you tell stories? And Jesus replied, you've been given insight into God's kingdom. You know how it works. Not everybody has this gift, this insight. It hasn't been given to them. But whenever someone has a ready heart for this, the insights and the understandings, they flow freely. But if there is no readiness, any trace of receptivity soon disappears. That's why I tell stories. To create a readiness, to nudge people towards the receptive insight. In their present state, they can stare till doomsday and not see it. Listen until they're blue in the face and not get it. I don't want Isaiah's forecast to be repeated over and over again. Your eyes are open, but you don't hear a thing. Your eyes are awake, but you don't see a thing. The people are blockheads. For they stick their fingers in their ears so they won't have to listen. They screw their eyes shut so they won't have to look, so they won't have to deal with me face to face and let me heal them. But you have God-blessed eyes. Eyes that see. And God-blessed ears. Ears that hear. A lot of people and prophets and humble believers among them would have given anything to see what you are seeing, to hear what you are hearing, but never had the chance. Tonight, we have the opportunity to leave our jaded lives at the door, to claim the sound of God's hopes that reaches beyond the bittersweetness that we feel, to be resurrection, to live into renewal, to invite all of God's people to sit at the table of love. Tonight, our religion looks different. It instead will be the sweetness of love and mercy and hope in our world, for we will guard God's common good We have a call to do what's right and to do it in the right way, for salvation is just around the corner. God's setting things right to go into action. How blessed we are. Those who enter into these things and embrace them. Thanks be to the creative sound of God in our midst. May we see and may we hear. Amen.
See, I catch you with these arms that hold me back against this wall. Release me from these chains that hold me fast. You see, there's a light at the end that I'm running to. If you hold my hand, then I'll show you there's a